La Colombe, a delectable coffee shop in New York City, had a no Wi-Fi policy when I frequented during the summer of 2015. The Lafayette location was conveniently located between my tiny apartment in Chinatown and class in Union Square. I favored this location with its large glass windows, its constant carousel of customers, the sounds and smells of the espresso machine, the baristas chatting with regulars, and that familiar hum of the city in the background. For me, writing in coffee shops is my way to observe, analyze, and interact with the city or the country that I'm in. Whether that's a coffee ceremony in the Bongo Wild Coffee Forest of Ethiopia, or a bustling side street cafe. Or maybe that's just my neighborhood coffee shop down the road. Coffee shops have always been my second home, or as Roy Oldenburg has famously coined them, coffee shops are my third place. A place that's neither home nor the office, where people can come together, socialize, potentially order food or drinks. It must be publicly accessible to all, so no membership fees or entrance fees, and ultimately, it's a place where people feel welcome. But here's the thing. I have always felt this huge distinction between the words place and space. And in anthropology, we do make that distinction between place and space, because space is all around us. It's viewed objectively. The spatial dimensions in which humans behave is observed by anthropologists. Place, on the other hand, is a space that was given a specific meaning based on social or cultural context, and it's viewed subjectively. In other words, a place has its own attached identity, whereas a space is constantly evolving and shifting in its identity. A space can become a place over time, given that social or cultural context, but it doesn't need to be a place in order to mean something to someone. There is this beautiful theory called affect theory, which details how people's emotions, moods, and feelings affect their thoughts, behaviors, and beliefs. And when you're in a space, you are surrounded by both people and affect. And to dig a little deeper into affect theory within third spaces, we can look at what's called affective atmosphere, or as TikTok might call it, the vibe that a space gives off. They're not too far off. Atmospheres are just that. They're energy, they're experiences. Actually, atmospheres need to be experienced in order to exist. And with every new experience, either social or personal, that atmosphere is changing based on people's emotions, moods, and feelings affecting their thoughts, behaviors, and actions. I'm going to give you a little example from one of my favorite type of third spaces, a coffee shop. If you were to walk into a coffee shop tomorrow and the barista greeted you warmly, they made you the perfect cappuccino, suddenly you're feeling really good, maybe even inspired to make a remark to the person next to you, talk about the book that they're reading. You've just impacted that space and changed that experience for yourself and that person, and even the barista, based on your emotions. Now, if you were to go in tomorrow and that barista did not greet you, your coffee was lukewarm, and suddenly you're annoyed, maybe you bump into someone on your way out the door and you don't say sorry, that experience has been negatively impacted based on your emotions. And what a really incredible thought, right? That our emotions, moods, and feelings can impact our actions, and we're not just being shaped by these spaces and places that we frequent, but we're impacting them each time and with every experience. 3 years ago, I got to witness affect theory in action when I opened up my own third space, an independent coffee shop in Northwest Arkansas. And I was able to witness affect theory in action. So we have a no cell phones behind the counter when you're on shift policy at our coffee shop. And if you're working with another barista and it's kind of slow, you get to know your coworker really quickly. And early on, I was working with our very first hire, Chris. And I learned that Chris loved to draw, but that he hadn't picked up the pen in a while. We bonded over our shared passion for art, but our genres are drastically different. You see, I am a vibrant colors, sunshine, anything that reminds me of happy sunshine thoughts. Chris is more of a jagged teeth, skulls, and monsters type of guy. I told Chris that he was more than welcome to draw whenever the shop was slow. And from then on, whenever all of his side tasks had been completed, Chris would grab a piece of scrap paper, pick up a pen, and draw. He even told me that at one point, the coffee shop was the only place he felt inspired to draw. So fast forward a few months, and we get this shipment of compostable cups. Now, these were different than what we had before. These compostable cups are completely blank, and I saw him eyeing them. They're white, blank, compostable cups. You see where I'm going with this? And he asked, could I draw on those cups? Yeah, sure, why not? I said, before adding, just not on all the cups, right? So like just a couple. Yeah, just a couple. So he starts working on these custom creature cups. And slowly but surely, he has amassed 6 custom creature cups. And we decided, let's display them at the coffee shop. Yeah, he's extremely talented. What I didn't expect to happen, though, was that Chris's authentic identity as an artist started to really weave this beautiful layer into our atmosphere. You see, our branding is bright yellow, like sunshine. We are inside of a animal rescue, so dogs and cats are part of the vibe. And ultimately, it's a family-friendly atmosphere, outdoor-centric, and we want people to feel happy and welcome coming in. Chris's core authentic identity has always stayed true to our core. But he's able to tap into this different demographic that we may never have been able to reach without him. Chris has tattoo artists coming in very often to talk about how cool his line work is. And he's got teens and preteens who come in and they suddenly feel connected to his art. They feel seen. These real human connections that are happening not just because of our great coffee, but because of our great people. So we celebrated our first year of being in business, and Chris started kind of workshopping this idea of doing vintage jean jackets with these custom creatures on the back. And his very first one, he showed me and said, would I be able to wear this while I'm working? Our policy is no profanity, no politics, nothing that would interfere with your safety or ability to work effectively. And his jacket was totally fine by those accounts. I also not so secretly loved that he'd be able to showcase his work with all of our regulars. It didn't just change the visual identity of our space. It didn't just create this beautiful layer of effective atmosphere within our confined space. His work transferred out into the ethersphere. He was in an Instagram reel wearing this jacket, and it's just a silly reel, but we ended up reaching 2.8 million people. Those 2.8 million people left thousands of comments talking about how they want that barista to make their coffee. They love his art, and they really started to vibe with our atmosphere as a coffee shop. And it didn't just stop there. Chris was approached while making someone's coffee, who that person happened to be representative of the Bentonville Fashion Week. And that person asked Chris if he would be open to having a custom line of clothes, walking at Bentonville Fashion Week, models showcasing his clothes. So he did. He premiered at the Bentonville Fashion Week this past spring. And I tell you all of this not because I'm just insanely proud of Chris, which I am, but because Chris was always an artist. He was always inspired to create. But he didn't necessarily have a space that worked as a catalyst for that identity. And that's where third spaces come in. As a business owner, I love creating an effective atmosphere for our employees because it trickles out into a warm, positive, effective atmosphere for our customers. None of our baristas are just baristas. They are multifaceted humans with so many different talents and identities. And sometimes it just takes an authentic, creative space for your identity to come out. So, how do you activate your authentic identity within a third space? How do you do it? How do you activate your authentic identity within a third space? It starts with getting rid of this pressure to be 100% authentically you all the time, everywhere, at any moment. That's not possible. We have so many different identities, and letting go of that pressure allows for you to understand which parts of your identities love to emerge. For me, whenever I'm meeting another mom at a coffee shop for a play date, my mom identity really comes out. Whenever I'm responding to emails, my production side or my business owner identity comes out. And if anybody asks us about the animals up for adoption at our facility, that 7-year-old Brooke who wanted nothing more than to live on a farm with 40 rescue dogs, she comes out. So understanding which parts of your identity maybe no longer serve you is also a great way to know where you are and where you want to be. I challenge you to go into your third space. It could be a library. It could be a park. It could be an independent coffee shop. Or maybe it's a tree or a park bench within a grassy area. Find your third space. And what I implore you to do is to take 10 minutes. Don't touch your phone, no Wi-Fi. Listen to the sounds near you. Is it quiet? Do you hear that familiar hum of the city in the background? Do you hear people talking? What does it smell like? And witness which parts of your identity want to come out. From there, have no judgment on which part of your identity wants to emerge. And just start to familiarize yourself with your different identities so that you can find your authentic self. It can feel really weird at first, but sometimes all it takes is an effective atmosphere and that invitation, if you're lucky, an invitation to pick up the pen. Thank you.